All right, well, whether you're talking about interrupting the campaign trail or not, whether it's politically advantageous or disadvantageous, anyone's guess. What is not is the growing schism, not only within the Democratic Party, but all parties when it comes to who has a right to look out for the common man or woman. And it evidenced itself in a conversation I had with a young woman who supports Bernie Sanders, does not Hillary Clinton, at issue the role of government. Take a peek. Before we talk about raising taxes, let's focus on where our tax money's already going.
No one said anything about raising taxes but you, Neil.
No,
you pointed to raising taxes.
I follow you on YouTube. You talk about the rich and the banks. No, I'm using your words. I've heard you on YouTube talking about raising taxes and the rich and the banks pay more.
But when you say raising taxes, you want your viewers who are crunched financially to feel like taxes are going to be raised on them. When I say raising taxes, I'm talking about bankers. Right. I'm talking about the 0.01%.
Or you notice something in that interesting exchange, and I thought she was a very articulate spokesman for that view on the left. There are many people who disagree, others who rap me. I wasn't trying to get into a fight here, but I did notice an interesting pivot on her part when we discussed this idea of raising taxes or not. First, she said that she didn't advocate it, then ended by saying that bankers and others could and should pay more. So we get back to essentially getting back to the core argument, more government or less government, which I think is the key in this race. All right, Kat Timpf is joining us. Deneen Borelli, Hadley Heath Manning. Hadley, end it with you. I want to begin with you. I think that's it. I think you are either in this young woman's camp that says, look, government is not serving the people, but more that properly focused would and could. Now, that's where she draws a line against Hillary Clinton because she says, unlike Bernie Sanders, she doesn't get that. What do you make of that?
Well, certainly many Americans can agree to disagree on the role of government, but when it comes to fighting for the common man, Neil, I think it's so important to emphasize that the reason many of us believe in free markets is because we believe that a bottom-up economy rather than a top-down economy will better serve the common man, will better protect the little guy. So we have a very dramatically different interpretation of the facts in terms of what's been going on in our federal budget and what the role of government should be moving forward. That doesn't mean we have to foster any ill will or disrespect for one another. But yes, she made some fine points. Often our points in these political discussions are going past one another.
That's exactly
Instead, we
right.
need to sit down and address exactly head-on the points that our political opponents are making.
And I think, Deneen, we get sidetracked in this issue. There were many conservatives who wrote me, I assume they were conservatives, said, Neil, get into the fact about where's the father of her child, or when she makes trips, who pays for them. All might be germane issues, but for the point of this argument, I thought side issues, and yet we do continue talking past each other. My only point, Deneen, is if your argument is that the government doesn't work, why would giving the government more money make it work?
Yeah, these young kids today, Neil, I tell you. But listen, that was a very interesting discussion that you had with this young lady. And there are a lot of people who think like her who are college age. What they need to do is take a course in world history and economics 101 and to understand the facts of socialism, because nothing is free, Neil. And you also have this entitlement mindset with this younger generation. A lot of these young college kids think they are entitled to anything and everything they want and on their time. And they don't want to listen to those who are experienced and those who are knowledgeable of certain issues and topics and situations. And sadly, the progressive professors on these college campuses, they have brainwashed these young college kids. So this is what we're up against.
You know, Kat, I was listening to her, and I think that Republicans do themselves great harm ignoring the Darlettes of the world and others because they figure, oh, they'll never vote for us anyway. But yet this populist rage is palpable. Look at Bernie Sanders. The anger at a system is real. Look at Donald Trump. Now, for different reasons. But the pullback that I get from this is there's anger out there that some are benefiting and others are not, that the system is rigged in favor of those that have the money and the connections versus those who do not. And I'm wondering if Republicans ignore that to their peril. What do you think?
Absolutely. The GOP needs to do a better job of reaching out to the youth and explaining, hey, you know what? We don't support this free college thing, not because we hate you, but because we understand some things, like it's not free college, it's other people pay for it college. And the government getting more involved has made school more expensive. Simple things like that they don't seem willing to do. I'm sick of this victim status, you know, it's because they hate me. No, it's not. Let's just talk about the economy in a basic way. I love capitalism, Neil. It made me very sad to see her saying so many negative things about it.
You know, one of the things I did take away from it, though, Hadley, is that has capitalism done itself a favor when a few malcontents of capitalism have ruined it for everybody? I talk about, you know, greedy bankers. I talk about, you know, those biotech CEOs who were willy-nilly hiking the price of drugs. And yet somehow that was seen as the industry doing that to everyone, when that wasn't the case. And yet I also find it odd that that anger is justified when the very bankers who criticize government largesse are the very beneficiaries of the biggest of that largesse and the rescues during and after the meltdown. So is the system failing them because of the system abusers? What do you think?
You know, when we talk about the system failing people, we ought to talk about whether we're really discussing free market capitalism or not. Because, of course, there's a big difference between free market capitalism and capitalist cronies. Cronyism is a very different system altogether. So I would defend free market capitalism. I wouldn't say it's a perfect system, of course. It's got flaws and it's got shortcomings, but it's the best system that we found so far in order to provide all consumers in any market, whether it's the market for education,
I think you're right. No,
for
I
housing,
definitely
or
think
for
you're right
healthcare.
about that. But Deneen, you know, you were touching on this idea that teaching kids of any age, anyone, about the merits of working for something, striving for something, not getting a handout. But yet preaching that, as Mitt Romney found out 4 years ago, John McCain 8 years ago, it's been falling on deaf ears. And I'm wondering, because it sounds too preachy, what should then conservatives or Republicans, more to the point, be saying to pound the point home? It need not be government.
Well, it's not the government's role to provide Americans with all of their wants and needs, and this is what Americans who think like this college student needs to understand. It's up to the individual to be responsible, to make decisions and actions that are best for them, and to work hard.
Well, that's a great argument. I'm telling you, Deneen, it has fallen on deaf ears. So, Kat, do you think that there's a better way to frame this without, and I believe everything you're saying, guys, don't get me wrong, but without sounding like you're preaching? Kat, what do you think?
Yeah, explaining why it's a bad idea, the fact that it does raise the cost ultimately in the institutions the more the government gets involved. I liked Rand Paul's idea about making student loan debt tax deductible. Try to look for solutions rather than just telling kids to stop whining, even though the kids definitely do need to stop whining. But I can say that.
All right, well, you're all young besides. Thank you very, very much. In the meantime, one of the points I tried to bring home yesterday, I tried to bring home on this, if money were the answer, well, we'd have the answer, wouldn't we? We have spent trillions of dollars fighting a war on poverty since the mid-1960s, yet our impoverished percentages are roughly the same as they were. We have spent trillions of dollars on food programs and the like, trying to make sure all are fed and clothed and helped in this country. And all these decades later, no big change in those percentages. So maybe more money isn't the answer. Maybe more common sense thinking is. We'll have more after this.